D was supposed to unmute me. I mean, how you gonna manage the back and you don't do what you're supposed to do? Like, I don't even understand all this. Like, man, I swear, Mm. What's going on, Randy? What's going on, Aaron? Welcome. Let me get my sound. Let me get my stuff going on over here on my tablet. My from the corner to the kernel in the back end, and she ain't doing what she's supposed to be doing. You know, Jesus Christ. But anyway, we do have a great special guest today, live and direct. It is this. I was trying to think of an intro because I just asked him. I said, "What intro do I give you? You've been on the show so many times, and I don't know what to say. So I'm gonna go with this. I met Reggie. And it's sorry if I call you Reggie, but that's why I feel like I should be able to call you at this point. And if you didn't like it, it was gonna be okay, right? It was gonna be all right. Good. All right. So I said, what intro do I give him? He's been on the show, talking about different jobs, trying to get people ready for to come in and be an SRE. And I was like, I don't know what I want to say. So I'm gonna say this. I met Reggie the same place I met D, on the corner, from the corner to the kernel. That's it. It's a popular corner. It's a popular corner. I'm just playing. No, we just actually found out we got some things in common. So some ATL common, in common with us. And I gotta, when I get up to Atlanta, I gotta go up there and meet Reggie, in person, so we can actually like vibe and talk. I think we did we meet each other? Did we see each other at one of the conferences? I can't remember. No conferences. Damn. And you would think we've been knowing each other for years, but we have not. Reggie, I want to first say thank you for taking the time on a Friday. I know you could have been anywhere else in the ATL, but here. I know it's hot up there, so you could have been anywhere but here. We appreciate you. And we also appreciate everybody from Dion to my state trying it. I did, from the corner to the kernel. When you gonna get that shirt ready? Anyway, we appreciate you for coming out and actually sharing your wisdom and sharing your experience. I want to say that up front before the day gets away from us. And without further ado, before we do, let me hold on. D, did you want to do the commercial now? Oh, D wants to do a word from my sponsor. Give Reggie a little bit more time, and then we'll come back at it. You got, I think it's about 5 minutes on that, but we'll let everybody feel in, and I appreciate y'all. So, word from my sponsor. Hey everybody, welcome to Women in Linux. I am Tam and D is in the background, and we just want to share with you some of the perks of being here on our channel. All right, so first things first, if you want to connect with us on social media, connect with us anywhere on social media at Women in Linux. If that's just too much for you, you can always come and find us on womeninlinux.org. And if that's not enough, we have even more perks where you can hit the connect button. Once you hit connect button, you put your email address in here. And once you put your email address in here, it'll connect with us in our Slack group. We have tons of resources in our Slack group. People looking for jobs, people just looking for advice, people looking for information and so forth, right? So again, this is Slack. It's not Discord. So on with using Slack, I warn you, it is resource heavy. So you may need to use either the web browser, or if you're on your phone, you should be fine. But if you're on your desktop, and we know most of you connect on your computer, it's easier to open it up in your web browser so it doesn't take up so much memory or so many processes and so forth. That's just an FYI. That's how I use it. Okay. And if you would like to shop with us, we still have our stuff from our 5 year stuff. Still good. We're working on more t-shirts. No, no estate, no date. We're still working on that. But again, if you want to shop and you want to get some merch, feel free to come here and get some merch. Again, if you come over here and click on all products, you'll see on all the products that we have, from hoodies to masks and so forth and so on, right? And if that isn't good enough for you, you can donate. You can always donate with your time. You can donate with your money. So how do you donate with your time? You donate with your time by saying, hey, I would like to do a presentation, or I like to volunteer on helping us grow the channel. You retweet, you share this with other members. In fact, for those of you that come here every single week, we know you come here every single week and you don't subscribe. Subscribe. That helps us grow the channel. That helps us get more content to you. Hey, research isn't easy. I'm not getting paid to do research. I wish it was at a university, but hey, I'm bringing this to you, right? I'm bringing this to you and us and for others, right? So if that doesn't work, you can always donate on PayPal by clicking the donate button. Once you hit the donate button, you have your own denominations in which you can donate. And if that doesn't work to you, for you can always reach out to D and you can cut a check and send a check. That works for us as well. All right. So, what are some other things that we actually do have as well? Right. So, we have a discount with IT Pro TV. You get 30% off. I've used IT Pro TV myself. I've done interviews with them. I'll pull those up as well too. But as you can see, I'm logging into IT Pro TV. What are the benefits here? You need to learn how you learn. So, one of the things you can do in IT Pro TV, you can come over here, you can click on courses, and it gives you a list of courses that's separating them out by certification and also separate them out by learning paths. You're like, Tamika, what does that mean? My four basic principles or my four basic foundations of skill sets that you should have is Linux. You should also have an automation tool, whether it's Terraform or Ansible. You should know at least a cloud. I don't care. Pick either one. And finally, last but not least, security. And security comes in multiple forms: security of the operating system, security of the application, and also security of containers, right? And cloud security. So it's multiple facets when we're talking about security. Those are your four basics that you're going to need to to get you a job and then move you up. All right. And we're going to talk about our membership here in another video, but I just want to get this out to you. All right. So that's 30% off of IT Pro TV. And last but not least, our Calendly. We have set up for our Calendly. Let me pull that up. I think I have it saved in my browser here, so I can just go straight to it. If not, I'll get it from D here. Here we go, right here. All right. So with Calendly, we have one-on-one sessions. That's where you get to talk to either me or D, and you can request either one. But where you get to talk to us in a one-on-one session, right? Interview prep. Some of you are getting ready for interviews or you've never interviewed before. We want to prep you for an interview. Resume review. Let's go over what you have, or let's pull all your skills together. Let's get things formatted properly. Let's get everything going. And last but not least, career assessment. What is your journey? What could it look like? What could you be going through? What are your next steps? Some of you are transitioning, some of you are not, some of you are looking to transition, and some of you are just trying to figure out what is your next step. So by saying all of this, we want you to enjoy your time here at Women in Linux. And also, as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the share button, and last but not least, thank yourself that you actually did it. We're back. All right. Last but not least, actually, let's bring Reginald Campbell to the stage. Everybody give a round of applause for Reginald Campbell, bringing him on to the stage.
Hey everybody, hey Tim, thank you for having me on.
You've been in the back for so long. I know you've been back there like, man, out from the corner to the stage, you know?
It's all good though. I'm reading the comments. Hey Stacy. Hey
Yeah.
everybody. Hey Sasha. How y'all doing?
Yeah, Sasha, Sasha was here on our the last show when we were talking about SRE and hiring and so forth. Let's just start with, who are you? Who are you, and where in the world do you come from? We know you don't come from the corner, but where do you come from?
I'm currently in Atlanta. Who am I? I'm a engineering leader. That's how I serve. But outside of that, I'm a father, I'm a husband, a brother, a friend, just a regular dude. Nothing's real special. Um, but yeah, Atlanta for the past 10 years, but military, moved around a lot, seen a few things, but that's a little bit about me. I'm currently at Etsy as a director of engineering over the foundation SRE space. Just joined recently, so I'm learning more about the company, about what's
Mm,
going on. It's growing. opportunity. So I love it.
And I just love how you brushed across that. I'm just a brother or father. I'm over here as a Etsy as a director, engineering over at SRE. I'm just chilling. Like, hey, you can do it too if the price is right, right? So tell us more about. Let's dive into more about SRE, because there's always a big topic and always a big discussion when we talk about SRE and DevOps. Everybody wants to uh, uh, have that fight with SRE and DevOps for whatever reason the case may be. But from your perspective, what is an SRE? Let's start there first, and then secondly, what characteristics do you think an SRE needs?
So, my opinion, site reliability engineering, that is a site reliability engineer. That person is there to make sure that the application is reliable, available, and is easily scalable, right? Someone that monitors it and also make sure that we enhance it. We're not there to sustain it. We're there to improve it. We're there to call out any efficiencies and then work with the whole stack, right? We're not there just to look at infrastructure, but we're there for app development. We're there for security. We're there for QA, CI/CD, any facet, right? Whether you're on-prem or in the cloud, that's what the SRE means to me. And for SRE in DevOps, SRE is the philosophy, but DevOps is a principle within SRE, right? We're not competing, right? SRE has certain things they can look at and they can blend into DevOps, but DevOps has their special case. And so they actually harmonize. I think Google has a great video about that that
Mm,
explains it, because even I had questions about that because I started as DevOps. And when I started hearing SRE, it made no sense to me. But as I learned more about the principle and the practice, I realized, yeah, there is a lot bigger space that I wasn't in at that time.
got you. Now, when we're talking about SRE and maintaining, and when I think about it, I think about scaling. I also think about security, but probably not in the same sense, because I'm coming from a DevOps world. I'm implementing the security. I'm seeing the security updates, but from your perspective, what are you seeing security wise? Because we get a lot of people that come to us, and the first thing they say is, I'm getting my bachelor's degree in cybersecurity, and I'm like, I don't really know what that means. So SRE in cybersecurity. Tell me more. What's the happy marriage there? What are you actually looking at?
Yeah, so I would say for SRE and security and DevOps and security, when someone says I'm doing something with security, I always ask, where in the stack do you exist? You should be able to explain to me what security means to you, then I can relate back how an SRE would interact with you. So security could mean I'm working with, CDNs and I'm hardening, our exterior. We're talking about security from a point of, traffic flow. We're talking about TLS. We're talking about protecting the origin, having, auto scaling, of course, but also having a different region. That's one way to look at security, and then just protecting yourself. But it's also about the application, right? The application maybe doesn't have certain security practices in place, right? You might be putting full blown tokens right in your code and deploying it to production. And a security engineer would flag that immediately, automatically, as you push it to GitHub or to
Mm-hmm.
any other repository, right? So there's one way to look at it. And then there's ways of like network penetration and like engineering to break into our applications. So you have security that looks at it from a point of how like hard is your shell? Like, can I log into your application by just putting in some SQL, or can
Mm-hmm.
I log into your application if I push so many requests to it? Right, those are like your white hats, and
Mm-hmm.
so there's security that way. But I always ask, what are you trying to do? Because there's ways to look at security. It's not just one bubble and you're good. There's different ways to implement it. Just like an SRE can fit into different areas and implement change that way.
Right. Now, on a typical team, how many people, what's a balance, what's a good mix for a team for you, when we're talking about, we got maybe, normally I see teams like this, like if they're about to launch an application, I usually see somebody from platform, an SRE, a DevOps, and a security person, and then maybe a product manager, and then maybe somebody who has a little knowledge about everything and how they all work together, and then they bring that back to the other teams. And when I say the other teams, all those other teams that are comprised of that. Like, what are you normally seeing as a mix with is it just all SRE, or you seeing like an SRE team or SRE person and then they are mixed into other teams?
So you're talking about the structure, right? It
Mhm.
depends. Like some organizations, they have an SRE team, and those engineers are dispersed into projects,
Mhm.
right? So kind of like what you mentioned, if there's a new application that's being launched, they want someone from SRE to be there to kind of talk about, production readiness, going through the whole stack, right? That person is close to being your architect. I think the architect will have more visibility into the application development, which the SRE could have, but not necessarily required in this sense. But then, yeah, the SRE will be there with product to say, hey, yeah, these things are checked off. You're good to go. We've launched everything. The only thing now is give me a thumbs up, and I'll start dialing up traffic for you, so we can
Right.
start testing the back end. So you have it that way. But then you also have like SRE teams where people will just come to the team and say, hey, we need you all to create a whole new space for us. Here's a green field. Here's a new Amazon GCP account. We need this. Help us do this. How do we lay this out? What's the architecture? We want to move from a monolithic app to a microservice app.
Oh, let me pause you right there because you're going. Let me pause you right there because you said some stuff. You said we're going from Amazon, or we're deploying to Amazon or GCP, so AWS to GCP. So now we're talking multi-cloud, right? Or hybrid if you want to, let's just say two clouds or whatever, but I call multi-cloud, right? And then you also started mentioning we're going from a model monolithic to microservices. Whoa, 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 whoa! What are you talking about here? Monolithic? What? How dare you say that it's on this channel? It's embarrassing here.
Well, I
Okay,
mean,
monolithic. So explain to people who may not have ever heard of the term monolithic, because and here's where I'm going with that. I think a lot of people today come in and all they know is Kubernetes. And they're like, all I know is these are some containers, and I may work with ECS, and I may work with Kubernetes, and I may deploy. But they don't know that prior to this, it used to be one big VM.
yeah. So there was a time where you would just build and compile your app and push it or rsync it to production VMs, and so you have, in some cases, those that still makes sense in certain situations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but those are how some of the apps were built back in the day, and you needed to know we're using Capistrano, we're using something to deploy this app the way we need to in production. And you needed someone who understood the deployment processes, and they need to know the requirements of what the app needed to run
Mm-hmm.
in that production VM. And on the flip side of that, you have development where it's microservices, where you know um, you have a shell of a front end, or a front end that's expecting certain endpoints or certain data, and the development team will say, hey, we have 5 APIs that give you all the data you need. They're all a separate service, and yeah, we can containerize this. We can throw up Terraform to configure your environment, auto scale it, and now your app is really a culmination of 5 different APIs, along with the front end, along with some, dependent services like a database, caching, storage, etc.
Right. Now you said something that I tell people all the time, that my favorite word in the world, terraform. What? What you mean? So you mean to tell me that I just can't go into AWS or GCP and just click and then say I want 1,000 machines and then just deploy 1,000 machines. Isn't that much more efficient?
I mean, you can do that, but you might be there for a while. So I would I would encourage you to learn how to automate that as much as you can. And
Right.
and it's not just about auto scaling; it's about auto scaling correctly,
Right.
right? Like you can auto scale to 100 VMs and then cost your company thousands of dollars for an app
They
that
don't need
didn't
that
need
money.
that.
They
You're
don't
right;
need that money.
they don't need it at all, right? So it's all about, and this is another aspect people forget about, performance, right? Performance testing. If you have performance engineers, work with them to test your app out, before you go live, preferably, right? So you
Mhm.
know how to actually tweak your app, and you start seeing where your app fails or breaks, or where you need enhancements, or where maybe there's a memory leak. Those are things that you want to do in the lower environment, by the way.
Man, you just mentioned a whole nother job, performance engineering. Can I go to school to learn to be a performance engineer?
You know what? I don't think so,
I don't think
but
so either. Hmm.
but it is something that you can learn at home. Like there's nothing stopping you from grabbing these tools, right? I mean, there's different ways to look at this, right? You can do A/B testing on your machine right now to understand what it takes to break something on your machine. If you have an endpoint, you're just local development, throw A/B testing at it. But then there's actual tools where you can actually program and send traffic, synthetic traffic, to
Mm-hmm.
your app, and you can test certain endpoints. And then it's just about knowing the difference between performance and stress testing. Stress testing is pushing your app to where you want to see it break. Like you
Mm-hmm.
just want to straight up break your app, see what happens, break the environment. Stress is more about, hey, we got a major event coming up. We need to see if we can do 1x, 2x, 3x, 10x, and see where you start to feel the environment pretty much on one node or one version of your app. So
Right.
those are the type of things that you can learn. It's all on the internet. You can read about it. There's job descriptions out there that will tell you which tools you need to go look at, to play with. There's trainings, etc.
Right. Now we got some questions that's coming in, so I'm trying to get to them. Sasha's asked, how important is scripting in Bash, Python, or otherwise? So I
Very
think more.
important.
I think more questions is how about more about programming than it is scripting. I would say for SRE.
Yeah, so I would say, of course, like the Linux foundation stuff, the basics. You need to understand Bash. You need to know how to move around a Linux server. But for programming, I think that would only enhance your skills as an SRE, right? Learning the basics about Python or JavaScript or specifically Node.js, as you learn to automate certain things, using those languages will help you. Python is a good one where there's all sorts of libraries that SREs tap into to automate certain stuff. So I would do it if for not for if I would do it just so you have an understanding of what developers are going through, and that will help you in your journey as an engineer, where you're able to actually empathize with the developer and say, "Yeah, I know what you have to go through to get this going because I tested it locally. I understand this library is broken. Here's some ways around that." So I would encourage it. I think most places want you to have some understanding. They don't expect you to be a expert, but they do expect you to be able to look at a for loop, an if statement, something like that, and just be able to debug it.
Right. So I would add into that. Normally, what I've seen in the whiteboard interviews is, hey, um, write me a script that will count the number of brackets in this sentence and output how many left brackets and how many right brackets in here in this particular one. I'm like, when the hell would you ever do this? Like, when am I going to do this? I mean, and I get it. It's all about the mind and trying to see how you actually break down to do problem solving, right? And I get that part, but then like this the part right here. If you don't pass that part, they're like, you did awful on the programming part. We can't hire you because you couldn't solve that problem. But you could solve problems, but you just couldn't solve that problem, so we can't hire you next. I've seen a lot of biases when it comes down to the programming and where you're learning that at. So I don't know. What is your take on the programming? Do you think people should go and just start from beginning to end, or should they be learning data structures and algorithms, or
I think you should choose a language where you can do the basics so you can handle those type of interview questions. Because yeah, in my career I had to do the same thing where I had to learn about how to reverse a string at, a character at a time, and make sure I don't put the exclamation point in the front, put it in the back, right? Like there's certain things you need to learn how to think through. Now with that said, there are some places that don't put too much emphasis on that, or they'll let you use Google in the interview process and say, hey, we know this is not your day to day, but show
Mhm.
us how you would do this. Here's some pseudocode. Show
Mhm.
us how to actually break this down. um, I still recommend like just grabbing one language. Python's probably the easiest one. It's all sorts of tutorials out there. JavaScript is really popular. um, I would still recommend it. Just going through and just spending a few weeks just doing some stuff locally on your machine. And then there's like actual interview questions out there where you can go practice that stuff,
Leak
and they'll
code.
give you the answer. Like, no, you got this wrong. This is how you fix it.
Right, leak code. We use exorcism on Sundays. We're doing Rust training, so we're going through and learning about the basics of Rust. What a vector is, what is a macro in Rust? What's a package? How do you add the packages? Uh, how do you use the match? What is the enum, a strut, the heap, the stack? Just going through and like, hey, this is what it is. This is how you do it. This is how you use it. This is when you would use it. Let's build a calculator. Let's build your own module for that calculator. You do addition, and then, come together, bring your code together as a collaboration. And then now let's see if the calculator still works.
Yeah,
But just
I
getting
mean,
in that rhythm of understanding collaboration and just some basics. I think oftentimes people go and start saying they're going into their tech journey, and the basics get left out, and then they get in an interview with a gray beard, right? And then the gray beard is like, so tell me what a heap is, and you're like, they didn't tell me what a heap is in my AWS class. They didn't tell me what a stack was in my AW. That they ain't had that on the certification exam. Why I need to know that to be in the cloud? They didn't tell me what that was. Well, wait, what is a kernel? Like, what are some of the basic things? I try to go over the basics with others. You got one more question here. It says, what leadership? Also, leadership? I guess what leadership advice would you offer to increase speaking at a conference? Oh, that I don't know. Have you spoke at a conference?
I haven't spoken at a conference, so I can't answer that. But I would say to prepare you for that, you need to be comfortable speaking in front of people. You need to be comfortable making mistakes and recovering. But you also need to be prepared, like prepare on what you're going to say. Um, I would just say be yourself, right? Like don't go up there and say something that's off brand, and now you got to stay with that and be off brand the whole time. Like be on brand, be
Mm-hmm.
yourself, and be authentic. But you do have to learn how to speak. You do have to learn how to connect with folks. You have to learn how to be empathetic to the audience that you're in front of. But those are things that you get accustomed to in your journey as a leader, right? As you're leading a team, or if you're even mentoring a junior engineer, like you need to be ready to answer these questions that they're going to come to you with, and be able to give real, actionable, information.
Right. I'll add to that because I've spoken at conferences. One of the big things I think a lot that gets missed out on speaking at conferences is um not just the preparation that you have for your abstract, but you also have to look at like when you submit the abstract, it's probably anywhere from 7 to 10 people that are going to read your abstract. And it is on them 7 to 10 people to say whether that's a one, two, three, or four. And if you don't have like a GitHub out there, or your name isn't out there, or if you don't have a LinkedIn or something where someone to say, well, I've never heard this person, and they're gonna go do their research on you, and to see if you presented this at another conference, or this is something, or you're doing marketing, for it right there. People go look you up. And so I'm saying that to say, and this is still down the same lines, from a leadership perspective, is understanding who your audience is, who you're going to be speaking in from, and what level are you going to be speaking to. Because you got to remember, at a conference, people come from different cultural backgrounds. Some people come to the conferences, they may have disabilities. Some people who come to the conference are coming to hear just you. They're coming to hear just you. So I am saying, from a person who speaks at the conference, make your content um, where everyone can consume it. And you can take that from being very easy to scale that up to being very abstract and hard. And if you make it too hard, make sure you try to make it where other people can understand it without being confused. That would be my best suggestion when we're talking about speaking at a conference, or and being in a leadership position, because when you're on stage, you're in a leadership position, because people are coming in the room, they're coming to see you, and they probably had the same problem that you have had, and they want to sit down with you afterwards. You're not going to make it to the next talk to ask you more questions about how you did X, Y, and Z, or they debate you. I've been in rooms where they debate now, where it gets fiery. At CNCF, they was getting it over in we were in France, and it turned into a shot match. I was like, "Oh Lord, I don't think they supposed to do that." Oh, yeah. So again, you are the leader when you speak, and that's why I encourage you all in the group to at least come to Women in Linux and actually speak on a Wednesday, or just do a talk or what have you, so you all can be familiar with being in the lead. And Sasha had one other question: when you enter a role as an SRE, should you expect to be mentored by your supervisor? What has been the onboarding process in your experience?
Should you be expected to be mentored by your supervisor?
I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say you can
Yeah,
go.
like I wouldn't expect to be mentored by anyone, right? I would expect your supervisor to do exactly what he's hired to do, or she's hired to do, like supervise you, right? I would say, like me, throughout your career, you're going to meet people who genuinely have an interest on just upskilling you, training you. Those are people that might give you that hard project where you look at them like, why did you do this? But they understand what it takes for you to grow. They may see a weak point in you, and they want to like help you grow in that area. And so I would not say it's an expectation of your supervisor, but I would say, as you look at certain places, ask if they have a mentoring program, right? Or go out to the community. There's places where you can go where you can ask people and say, hey, what would you recommend? What should I be doing? And you will get that advice. But no, it's not an expectation. That's an extra. Those are great leaders who do that, who actually invest outside of the roles of their day to day.
Yeah, I've never been in a situation where the manager would mentor you. I've been in situations where they'll be like, "Hey, we're starting a mentor program, and we want you to be a mentor, or maybe you can come in and help out sometime," but never in a situation where the manager was a mentor. And then, not to say that the managers didn't know, but sometimes the managers don't know. I mean, that's just
Well,
being.
the manager may not have the capacity as well.
Yep, yep. I've seen that one too. All right, so now we talked about SRE. What we haven't talked about is Etsy. What is Etsy? And why the change, my dear?
So Etsy is a boutique seller platform that's meant to be, friendlier, a little bit more, a little bit of a friendlier vibe where you can sell and trade things, sell and buy items. Right? If you haven't been on there, go check it out. I've been on the platform. I've been looking. Actually, I've been looking for kitchen rugs. We need some new kitchen rugs. My wife, she keeps asking, so I need to go out there and do my thing. Um, for me, it was the opportunity to just grow. And um, I know this sounds corny, but it's true. Like when I interviewed, the interview process, like the leader I report to was genuine. He's still the same person that I interviewed with. And then
Mhm.
as I met other people in the company, it was the same thing.
And he's still there.
Still there. Still, yeah, he's still there. He wasn't like smiling like, hey, I'm about to be about to be out. Good luck. No, he's still here. And so I enjoyed the way they treated me throughout the interview process. Like I didn't feel like, you know, I didn't feel like, hey, this I can see some cracks in this. And
Mhm.
so yeah, it was the opportunity, it was a step up, it was in my wheelhouse. And that's what was exciting to me, right? Like at the end of the day, I am in charge of my own career. And so I
Mhm.
have to be my own advocate and push myself and understand that, hey, I'm going to grow, I'm going to invest more, I'm going to have less free time, but this is better for me
Mhm.
as a leader, as an engineer, that I will continue to grow. So
Do
that's
you
why
want to? You want to go to CTO?
I I don't know. I don't think about that daily, if that makes sense. Like I'm here now, I'm present and I continue to grow, but I don't know if I want to say, hey, I'm just gonna get here and I'm gonna be happy. Right.
Mhm.
Like I recognize that my journey may go somewhere else completely different. And I'm just happy to be on that ride.
Mhm. Still on that ride.
That's right.
Still on that ride. I got you. I got you. I got you. So when it comes to Etsy, on the back end side, would you consider Etsy more AI machine learning specific, or would you consider it yeah, I don't know. I guess I look at Etsy as AI machine learning focus on the back end, because I mean you are getting a lot of data, you are getting a lot of pictures.
Yeah. And so this is where you don't want to be off brand. I don't know everything about it just yet. Um, so I can't answer all those questions, but I can say that I've seen some cool stacks that even I wanted to dive into. Like some
Hmm.
stuff I was like, I've seen this before, but other things I wanted to dive in, like, I didn't realize that was a thing. And so
Hmm.
now this is something else I would recommend. Like when you join somewhere, it's great that you learn a little bit about your role and your team, but expand out. Start
Hmm.
talking to folks who don't normally work with you day to day to learn. And then you start seeing gaps in your own knowledge to say, oh, I didn't even know this was an actual initiative. Let me go research. Let me go ask these leaders, these VPs, what does this mean? And then how can I be a part of this journey or help you in this journey? So that's a little nugget that I don't know that we do a lot in our community, but we should.
I talk about it all the time. I talk about it all the time. I tell people, I was like, when you get in, even in the interview process, ask to speak to other team members on other teams, like what they doing, how they do stuff. And when you get in there, start sit on a sprint with another team and see what they do every day, and how can you be an assistant? Sit in on a meeting, like when they have a meeting, go look at the calendar. Oh, they got a meeting, pop in, like what's up?
Yeah,
I'm here, right?
when they send out those emails to everyone talking about a new feature, respond back and say, "Where can I go learn about this? Like, I want to be a part of this. Like, just engage yourself and be
Mhm.
put yourself in discussion. That will help you with exposure. That's
Right.
something that it's not. That's something that we weren't really taught in school. They never
Mm,
talked about the pie method.
mhm.
So you owe that to yourself.
What is the pie maker, Reggie?
Oh, y'all didn't know? I'm sorry. I thought y'all knew. Let's see if I can go off memory. Pi method is performance, um, ease, exposure. What's the I, Tam? I forget the I.
Hold on, I'm pulling it up right now. Pie. Methodology. Not process improvement. It is the PI method. Performance improvement. Is this the one we're talking about here?
I think so.
Is a method for analyzing performance problems and setting up systems to ensure good performance. Are we looking at
No,
that?
no, no, no. I'm googling too.
Because that's what I got for the PI method.
Performance, image, and exposure.
Okay.
So, so the Pi method talks about, and let me give you the link.
He right on it. 'Cause that was new for me.
So the Pi method talks about your
Yeah.
personal brand, right? When people talk about why am I not moving up or why am I not getting certain opportunities, like outside of the obvious of certain, blatant racist trends or sexist trends,
Mm-hmm.
your personal development, it breaks down into three segments: performance, like how well you do your job; image, how people view you; and
Mm-hmm.
then exposure, how many people know you outside of your sphere of influence. And what people don't realize is that performance is the least important of those three.
Right.
Image is just, very important. And exposure, talking to folks, meeting folks, getting your name out there is very important, because as people meet and talk about opportunities, your
Ooh,
name comes up.
this is a
And
good one.
and just getting the opportunity to do something, you may not be 100% successful, but just meeting those people, having those connections is just as valuable. So that's what I was talking about for the Pi method.
All right, so now this gets into the question of can you still have the PI method if you work remotely? Is that still possible? Can you still have the exposure and the image if you're working remotely? And if you can, or if you have some idea, what are some suggestions you would have if you people who work remotely? Because some companies are just full remote.
Yeah, so I would say it is possible. It's harder, um, but if you're 100% remote, you kind of get best. You kind of get an easy way to kind of connect, because now you could just hit people up and say just 5-10 minutes, and you're just talking to them in video, and that's way easier than have to connect with someone in the office or finding someone in the office. Now it's just, I'm gonna Slack you, I'm gonna email you, and boom, there it is. Like, you just go out there. But
Mm-hmm.
I would say face to face, yeah, it's more traditional. Face to face, if you're just walking around the office and you ride the elevator with someone, ask who that person is. Like, that's organic. It's right there. That's the exposure. Or if you want to know what your VP is doing, if you're in the office and they got the door open, just walk in there, ask her what she's up to, see if she's willing to talk to you for 5 minutes, whatever. So I think remote, you can do it, but you have to be intentional, right? Whenever there's activities, whenever there's some type of event, you be a part of it. You present yourself the same all the time, but make sure it's authentic so people know, no, that's really how she is every day, right? And that becomes your image. Um, but it is possible, yeah, but you have to put some work into it.
Yeah, and I would add that to that there are I don't know, do y'all do donut? Yeah, everybody does the donut where it just randomly cycling through picking people. You have a meeting to discuss just who you are, what you're doing. It may not be nothing related to work. It could be related to work. I think you kind of drive that when you're talking to people. So that's automatically to get people engaged so they know who each other, who you are and what does that person do. Because especially when you're working at a startup, you may go from 30 people to 90 people in a month. And then you're like, well, who are all these people? I don't know them. I don't know where they came from. We just know, just something just came out and we just, an email came out and now that person on the team. Okay, cool. So who you again and where you come from, right? So it's that. And then the other one is also being intentional with connecting with people. I think from my perspective, this is my perspective, because I'm usually the only one. From my perspective, I'm usually the only one, and I'm and turning on the camera sometimes helps. And then sometimes I just don't. I'll be honest. I don't want to turn on the camera, but I'm here. I'm listening to you. I'm engaging. But I think you have to be intentional about, just like you're intentional about your career. You have to be intentional about being in that company and pushing forward, right? If that's your choice, if that's what you're looking to do. Some people are okay with sitting to the side and just, they're just even keel. This is who they are. They're all right. Oh, you're gonna give me a 3% raise? Thank you, and you have a good day, and I'm okay, and I'm going about my business, right? And then some people want to be all in. Some people want to be all in, and they're gonna be that dynamic person that's gonna sit in everybody's meeting and talk to everybody, right? And then some people are like, yo, I just want to go to this one meeting and I'm good. Some people don't go to no meetings at all.
And I think that's very accurate, right? Like, decide what you want at this point in your career. There's
Hmm.
no wrong answer. It's your career. So what do you want to do with it? But I do like that point you talked about, like turning on your camera, because
Mm.
it's one thing to see a name, but it's a different thing to see a name that you can match with a face.
Yep.
That goes a long way. So when they see you again, they may not remember your name. They may not even remember like what you were doing. But they will remember how you made them feel.
Right. We got one more question, and then we're gonna get to your job because I know we only got you for an hour. And it was like, do the engineering cannabis asked, do you all use blockchain applications and also the use of cryptocurrency?
At Etsy, I don't know about crypto. I don't think so. Blockchain, I I can't answer that. But my question to you is, oh, do I see the use of blockchain and the use of cryptocurrency? You're asking me the
Mhm.
trends of it. I mean, I have some crypto, um, but we also watch crypto tank the past month in reaction to the market. So I will say, do with that what you will. I say
But
blockchain.
do you see Etsy like taking that as a payment?
Oh, that's not my call. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if they do, my team would be there to build it,
Mm-hmm.
and I would love to be a part of that. If my team's not building it, but blockchain applications. I guess my question is, what do you want to do with that? Like, so if that's what you want to do, are you looking at places that's actively hiring? Because just asking randomly if a company's doing it, great. You might be a yes, it might be a no. But if that's your skill set, you need to be out there like finding those places or building something yourself,
Mm-hmm.
because that's still a very much niche market. Well, I don't know if there's a major vendor who's just doing that 100%, but I could be totally wrong.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know you mentioned earlier about cybersecurity. There's another question about the importance of cybersecurity, and also companies look with new technologies and diversity. But I think the cybersecurity part, you answered that part. But let's ask this a different way. On your cybersecurity, are you doing cybersecurity end to end, or is it we're going to deploy this application, then we're securing that? Are you following the I guess the A/B testing security in shifting left of security in that model?
If you are going down that path of cybersecurity, you should be comfortable with both. Because then, ideally, you should be able to talk about securing not just the application, but development and engineering and traffic, uh, egress and ingress. You should be
Mm-hmm.
able to talk about it from the moment they start developing, all the practices you should put in place internally, from TLS, from other things about intrusion detection, to the application itself, to the CDN, to the CI/CD, to the networks and security groups in your cloud, to your CDN, not only by the origin layer, but the actual CDN itself and policies you have in place to detect traffic, to honeypot malicious traffic. And then when you receive a request, how does that traffic start from there? Like, is it secure? Is it valid? Are these like invalid requests that they're trying
Mm-hmm.
to break you?
Mm-hmm.
So I would look at it from that point of view. You should be comfortable If you're going down that route, be comfortable the whole way. Now, if there's a certain segment you want to focus on, yeah, DevSecOps is a great place where you'll be close to development and operations, but they'll be coming to you to say, hey, we need you to help us build a sidecar that will do TLS
Sidecar.
determination.
Ooh.
Yeah, like we want you to help us figure out how to, store tokens, and we want you to help us implement FIPS. We want you to help us implement PCI compliance. Like there's going to be things.
Type 2.
Yeah, like there's all sorts of things that's in that field that you should understand.
Mm-hmm.
Kona, if you're working with information about children, like there's just all those like practices that a security minded engineer should understand, and start working towards if you're newer to that concept.
Speaking of that, do y'all have an age limit on who can sell stuff on Etsy? Is that like, do you mean 18 and older, or can a child 10 put their stuff up on Etsy? I never really looked into it.
Yeah, legally, I would say go look at the documentation because I don't want y'all to say Reggie says something and it's wrong. So go read what Etsy says. But I would
Look,
imagine
I
children
don't
probably
know.
can be, yeah, like stay on brand. All right, I'm not gonna go off brand for y'all.
All right, so let's get the real reason why you're here is that I asked you to bring come on is to talk about the job. I think you had a job, and then there was another job that was out there. But I have it here for a senior observability engineer, runtime SRE. I don't know if you want to break this down, or you want me to read it, or how you want to roll with this.
Yeah. So listen, I'm one of my managers who manages the runtime GKE observability team is looking to bring on a C.
GKE.
Yeah, Google Kubernetes engine.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, I forgive me.
It's all good. I just wanted to make sure people heard GKE because that translates into Google, and because a lot of people like, oh, all I do is AWS, and I'm like, well, that's okay, but there's other clouds.
Yeah, there's other clouds out there, and so we're looking for someone to kind of help us with observability, right? We have Prometheus console, we have ties into our Kubernetes, and we need someone to help not only maintain what we have, but help us up level and auto scale that. And so I think the contents about the specifics are in there. I don't know them offhand by memory, but I do encourage you all, if you fit the criteria, I think it's like 5 years. If you've been around monitoring stacks, if you worked with Kubernetes, if you worked with data, coming in with data, yeah, thank you.
Right here.
Um, yeah,
This one.
that's it.
Okay.
Uh, Cortex, Envoy, Console, Prometheus, Golang, Terraform, Chef. If you have an idea of how to take in or grep pull logs from applications or from multiple sources, grok them to make sense, and then display them in a way that people can use them in Kibana or something like that.
Did you
Um,
say Grok?
yes. So,
GROK.
sorry. Yeah, forgive me.
It's all good. This is a technical conversation, but I like to point out things that I know some people may not have heard of, and give them a chance to go look it up. She said Grok. Oh, is that how you spell that? GROK. Go look that up. Yeah.
So yeah, listen, I'm coming to you all because I came last time trying to hire, and I'm coming back. Like this is another opportunity that I want you all to look at. Even if you don't think you're a fit, I would encourage you to look at the requirements and start educating yourself on these tools,
Mm-hmm.
leveling yourself up, and say, well, what is Cortex? Let me go take a look. Right. So if you have questions, ping me. I think my LinkedIn is out there. Um, but yeah, let me know
And
if you have questions.
and that Cortex, is this not Cortex AI, is it?
No, no,
Okay.
no, no.
All right, just for the Cortex. Yeah. So back to the chef. I always tell y'all to pick a automation tool, Ansible, Puppet, Chef, Salt. I always say that. I don't care. Pick a tool, right? Go running with it. I always tell you about Terraform. I don't know how many times I tell y'all to spin up something on Google, GKE, Golang. I tell you Golang, Rust, Python, Bash. Those are just across the board. That's common. Prometheus, I don't talk about Prometheus because some people use Prometheus, some people use Prometheus and Grafana, some people use something else. It is very company dependent on who's doing what. Some people are like, nah, we just Datadog all the way out. We doing everything through Datadog, right? Some people are New Relic. Some, it depends. Cortex, haven't heard of, I've seen Cortex, I have never used it. Envoy, going back to these sidecars and so forth, whatever, service mesh, blah, 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 console, they all run together there. If you've been on HashiCorp's website, Terraform, console, I even throw, if you know about Terraform and console, you might as well just learn Vault. You make that stack, make that part of your stack knowledge, and go from there, right? Again, these are the same things that I talk about as foundational skills that you can take with you and learn and go anywhere. Now, them tell you what I've been telling folks, Reggie. I've been telling them, listen, I've been saying this is my own thought process. I've been telling them learning Linux is recession proof. You stack on Terraform, pick a cloud in the cloud, security. You in business for, I'm gonna say 20 years. That's all I'm saying. Now
Yeah.
you tell me if I'm wrong, if I'm missing something. Pick a programming language, throw it in there, Rust. But
Listen, listen. Like, just understanding Linux and being able to move around in Linux is like security proof. Like, even in college, Linux administration was still a thing, and it's still now. You need people who understand how to move around in Linux. But then when you start talking about containers and terraforming like environments,
Mhm.
right? That is something that is needed everywhere. Everyone wants to be able to automate as much as possible because that reduces cost in the long run and it reduces complexity. And so, yeah, I would say that, and learning a programming language, like you can move around, you can move up, you can use these skills, and you
Mhm.
can start stretching them. Right, you'll
Right.
realize certain places they need to depend on your Linux skills more. Other places depend way more on your Terraform skills, but it's okay because you can pivot.
Yep. And that's why. And that all I'm saying is, we talk about the T shape, and I tell people about the T shape being very broad. Here, maybe you specialize in something. On this list, chef, you can learn Terraform and everything else, but maybe you specialize in chef. Maybe you don't specialize in chef and you go specialize in Terraform. Or maybe you just specialize in GKE and understand how to deploy with Terraform. Or maybe you wouldn't even use Terraform. Maybe you may use Ansible scripts or chef scripts to deploy. What I'm simply saying is this: you need to find what your foundation is. And to me, I think your foundation should be 5 skills. And out of them 5 skills, you pick and choose what your happy go lucky thing is at night. Like when you go home or when you get off of work, you're like, yeah, I'm going to go learn some more Terraform. I'm going to go attend some more conferences that are talking about that. I'm going to learn console. I'm going to learn Envoy. Oh, what's the competitor to Terraform? Oh, well, I need to learn Cloud Formation, but now I can't use it over here in Azure. Oh, snap. Like those things. Like I want people to be excited about learning too. Like have fun. If you screw up something, it's all right. Just don't do rm-rf slash on your computer.
I like to do rm-rf star. I like to just put that in there. Don't run that on any machine, please. Don't do that. Don't do that, okay? But when I had a machine that I knew I was going to throw away, I would just run that command and see how far it would go.
What happened to that machine?
It's gone. It's dead. It only took a few seconds. I was like, oh, that's anticlimactic. I thought I would see more files.
All the I knows is gone, right? All the I knows is gone. You got one more question here. It said, what are the 2 main skills that I should be building as an aspiring software engineer?
Software engineer, one, what is your go-to language? I would choose a language that is modern and flexible. JavaScript is great. Whatever. Are you like figure out where the stack you want to belong to? You want to be front end, you want to be back end, or you want to be full stack.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would also say to help you be a little bit more flexible, I would understand one, how to move your code around, containerize it, how to deploy it, be able to monitor it. Like you should know more than just say, hey, I can build this app. You should understand the specific, like you should understand the pros and cons of your app. Like if you're using Python, hey, this probably isn't the best thing for me to use if I want to do, async. Maybe I should move to Node for this app because I want to do async calls and I can make it a little bit more asynchronous as a whole. But you should understand a language, the pros and cons, where you want to be in the stack, and then how to move your code around. I gave
Right.
you 3 or 4, so you need more than just 2, to be honest with you.
Right. And I took the time out to look up what, and this is just, I want to give everybody just a big overview of like how big SRE space is. There's the SRE Conf uh, put on by Usenix. I was on a board of SRE Conf. I think maybe for about 2 years, and I haven't been back. Not because I didn't want to. It's just I've just gotten busy um, from being on that board. Also, if you are looking to join Usenix and SRE Conf, we have Amy Rich sitting right in our Slack group, who's president over there at Usenix. I think she's still president over there, and you can talk directly to her about it. Like you have people right at your fingertips, right? The other thing I encourage people to do is go online and pick out SRE books and just read about them. There's an SRE versus DevOps on Google. I have that up on the screen as well. Um, Understanding what the differences are. Also, start looking at the job descriptions, right? Because for a long time, the job descriptions at one company for SRE was one way, then another one was another way, and another one over here was another way, and it was just like, man, Then some companies don't even they'll tell you straight up, we don't want anybody that's DevOps, we want somebody that's SRE. And you're like, okay, well, they don't want no DevOps folks, and we don't want nobody and then they'll say, well, we only want somebody with these programming language skills, right? But those are very unique companies that you'll find that want a specific person because they're looking for a specific need. But I encourage you to understand the multiple positions that a company has so you can see where your skills may lie. You wouldn't even known that you're really good at programming. Maybe you don't want to do DevOps. Maybe you do want to go to SRE. Maybe you're really good at being a software engineer and you didn't even know SRE existed, that you could go into SRE, and you didn't even know DevOps existed or DevSecOps existed, right? You didn't know those things. So I encourage you all to look at titles, look at the descriptions, and then go look up multiple titles of multiple job descriptions so you can see the differences in the company and how they're being utilized, and also know when they're being utilized. Because the SRE at Google is probably going to be different than the SRE at VMware.
Yeah.
And just have fun with it. Is there anything you want to lead the people with, or any other job that I missed, or anything that maybe Etsy is hiring for that you want to encourage people to say, hey, come check us out?
Go look at the career page and go look for yourself. There's all sorts of ones out there. I don't know all of them. And I
Mm-hmm.
would just want to say thank y'all for inviting me back. I really enjoyed talking to you, Tim, and the
Well,
community. I want y'all to grow. I want the best for y'all.
yeah, well, we appreciate for you hanging out with us. We know it's Friday in the it's about to be happy hour. Ain't it? The happy hour started at 2, but it started at 4.
Starts after this call ends.
But I really appreciate you. And I want you to have fun. When I come up to the I'm gonna make sure I hit you up and let you know when I'm in town, and we'll go do some A-town things and hang out. I don't know. I'll see if Dia make it. She may make it. She may not.
Hey, D.
All right, y'all. Y'all be safe, and I thank y'all everybody for coming out. Don't forget to like and subscribe hit the share button, hit the notification button. And don't forget the t-shirts that are out there. We got t-shirts too. We got t-shirts now that say, if no estate, no date, we too broke to argue. You're only one skill away from 200K. And I got it out the trust. We don't get it out the mud anymore. We get it out the trust. So those t-shirts are out. Go on the website. Make sure you hit that, get that up. Again, don't forget to go fill out. Just look at the app, look at the jobs, and go to Etsy and hit them up. And don't forget to hit them up on LinkedIn. Now hold on. Let me say this. Don't go over there to LinkedIn and ask him, can you get me a job if I send you my resume? Make sure y'all got some skills. Make sure you got your resume together. I'm just gonna tell you that from me. Don't go over there acting up. That's all I'm saying. Don't go over there acting up.
And if you decide to still come to me with that, I will politely.
He gonna be nice. I'm telling you to go prepared. He gonna be nice to you. It's okay, Reggie. You only one skill away from 200K. I catch y'all on tomorrow, and we'll continue our wealth talk. Until then, y'all be careful and be safe.